So how do you trust God when He removes people from your life and your business? That's the question that we're going to tackle here today. I'm going to be asking my beautiful wife, Megan, about how she processes and how did she navigate, and I navigated too, when we had people in our business, this from years and years of being in business. Maybe it's a contractor, supplier, maybe it's a partner, but when somebody, shifts on you, when somebody, gets manipulative, or when somebody, ends up not being the right fit for your business, how do we trust God through that process when that person is removed from your life and your business? So, Megan, I'd love for you to just kind of take that step back. We're not going to be talking about any one particular situation, but in business in general, how have you dealt with when God has removed people from our business?
Well, the only thing I know to do, and I want to encourage you to do for you listening and watching this here right now, is to know that in any and all situations is to trust God, because our default as man, woman can be to look into all of those scenarios and what happened and why. And we can almost go to God and say, well, why, God? Why did this happen to me? Instead, it's to trust God, because going through the situations that we have gone through in business is that we only knew to lean on God, to pray through what we were going through. And we like to look at it as it is a beautiful deliverance in our business, so that God, in a valley, in a really low moment, what felt really hurtful or painful, or that we were being taken advantage of, and maybe that's something you're going through right now, is that in those moments, we looked for the beauty of where God was showing up and what God was doing. And we said, well, how can God refine us?
Yeah.
What can we learn in this situation? How can we lean on Him, and not on our own understanding about what was going on, but His understanding about what He was doing in our life and in our business? And so we like to say is a beautiful deliverance in our business.
That's one way to put it. It's God just delivering the business.
Yes.
And it's just, to me, it's what's really interesting about this topic and this conversation is something that felt so painful. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have dozens of these stories. As being an entrepreneur for 20 years, there are so many times in my life where I've endured so much pain mm-hmm. through someone else, a partner or somebody. Just to give examples, if anyone's wondering, like, what are we really talking about here? If I think back in my 20s, I've had a partner that stole from me. I have had a partner that was not who I thought that she mm-hmm. was. So here we are building this business, helping people, coming to find out that she's taking all the money mm-hmm. and blowing it, right? And there were people on the other end that had the potential to get hurt from it. And so, or someone who I was admired so much, my mentor, and it turned out that he didn't make what he said. He wasn't who we thought he was. And the whole thing was a lie, and it was like such a deceit and such discouragement, and there was so much pain that came from it. In those moments where we're in such a place of emotion and pain, and we don't know what to do, and we're fuming, and we're like, this person did this, this, and this. What I just heard you say, Megan say so beautifully, is that even in that valley where we think that like the sky is falling and it's awful, and maybe there's financial repercussions, maybe mm-hmm. we're not sure how we're gonna pay bills, or whatever the situation is, to trust God. Mm-hmm. And it's so hard in the moment because of what has happened, but in every single situation in our life, and I'm sure for you, if you look back, when you really look at that situation and how you got to where you are today, God has blessed you through those situations. Mm-hmm. And I know for Megan and I, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing if we didn't have those situations. So it's the hardest thing to do when you're in the middle of it, is to think positive and like, this is a good thing that this person stole from me, or this person backstabbed me, or whatever the thing is. But if we truly can know that and trust in Him, in mm-hmm. God, that He is bringing us through something, and that deliverance of the business, maybe that partner, maybe God is clearing that path because He has a bigger, vision for you and your purpose and your life and your business, that He's clearing that path before you. So as hard as it is to be in that mindset, mm-hmm. you can look back and always see the fruit of what God is doing in your life, even through the hardship.
You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of that picture with a little girl holding on to a teddy bear. and it's this little teddy bear, and she's holding on to it. And then there's this picture of Jesus, and behind his back is this bigger teddy bear. And if we can think of the teddy bear as maybe what we're walking through, or what we're giving up, or what has been taken from us, that God has something bigger for you. He truly does. And when we can lean on that, when we can give up whatever that emotion is, whatever that feeling it is, whatever that we're walking through is, and to know that behind Jesus' back, God's back, that he wants to show you something bigger. And when we surrender, it's what I heard, when we surrender that to him, when we allow him to plow through, to take those things, to work all things together for good for those who believe. So today is the day that you believe. Today is today that you have faith. Today is today that you allow God to move in your life, and that you say, you know what? I'm not going to question you anymore, God. I'm going to trust in what you have for me, for my life, and for my business.
That is incredible. And one last story, and I think before we wrap, is when I think about when you're in one of those situations, and then you can find the blessings. You know, like in some of our recent scenarios, we had a couple people that stole from us, and it was a very difficult season in Life on Fire. We were growing a pretty good sized company, and when they left and took clients and the customers and things with them, there's all this hardship that came from it. And then there's a woman, Eleanor, who coached with us for a long time, and just a dear friend. She's someone who's a big part of our lives. And at her wedding, Megan and I are dancing. The husband and wife, they're dancing, and Megan whispers in my ear, and she said, if that never happened with those people that, kind of did us wrong in our business, this wouldn't have happened. Not just us being there at her wedding, but, she ends up as a part of our life, and then she ends up using this Life on Fire process, and ends up meeting her husband, and all these strings and series of events that may not have occurred if that hardship had never happened. So if we can trust God, of course, through the process, but also look for those God winks and those God clues, of how he has actually tied things together. And so I'm getting goosebumps now. I remember as Megan and I were dancing and she shared that, it was like it rewrote the past, and some of that resentment that I had been praying and forgiving and praying and forgiving, it just went away, because all of a sudden I had a really positive look on that negative experience. And I would go as far as to say, is if you can feel blessed by that thing that you endured in your business, in your life, where you literally feel it was a blessing, the thing that crushed you, the thing that, maybe there was financial hardship that devastated you. If you can find those clues and literally think, I am so blessed because that happened, because of some situation that is now reality. And that's what happened in that moment of us dancing with Eleanor and thinking, wow, look at the love of her and her husband and her family and all this that's going on that may not have occurred. And then the other one I think about is there's someone in our life right now who is a mentor. I would say he's like one of my best friends. In my whole life. And this guy just pours into us. He loves us so much. He loves Life on Fire. And we would have not known him if it wasn't for, a particular person. And even though us and that person, we didn't match in business, and there was a lot of hardship and challenge with that scenario, it's such a blessing. And so the point is that we can always find the blessings, even in the pain, especially when we trust God. Amen.